¿Cuál crees tú que es la característica principal de esta nueva generación de guitarristas a la que tú perteneces?
Bueno, pues en principio todos son fallos de la nueva generación, ¿no? Porque intentamos buscar cosas nuevas, por lo tanto fallamos todos. Toda la prima, ¿no?
What's up, guys? Ricky T here, CFGLA, your flamenco guitar coach. In this video, we're going to go over basic flamenco guitar theory. We're going to talk about one chord, and we're going to use that chord to explain some basic concepts that everyone should know. We're going to assume in this video that you don't know anything about theory, anything about guitar theory, anything about music theory, that you just have a guitar, even if you don't have a guitar. We're just going to explain it to you from the perspective of the guitar. There are a lot of videos, a lot of resources on YouTube that will explain theory in general. And this video will essentially go over a lot of those same topics, but here we're going to approach it from the perspective of the guitar, because we're guitarists at this channel. So, all right. So before we jump into details and stuff, let me explain to you what you're looking at. So this is a mock-up here of the guitar fretboard, right? This 0 means open fret. See this little line we have going right here? This is the division. This is the nut that you have at the on your fretboard, right? So this is fret 1, fret 2, and this is fret 3. You know how on the guitar they have on some guitars they have dots on the top. Like if you're holding the guitar, you look down, you see the dots. They have dots usually on these indicators, on these marks, on these frets. 3, 5, 7, 9, 12. So that's what we have here. Everything at 12 repeats again. So open, these are the notes, open, right? If you just pluck the strings, everything repeats here. So these are the same notes on the 12th fret that they are on open. If you don't push anything, if you don't hit any frets, just open. They're the same notes. All right. Let's undo that guy there. I'm going to use colors to explain things, right? I'm a visual learner, so I like colors. So here we have yellow, which is going to indicate a note in a chord. All right. We have green, which is going to indicate the note in a scale. Then we have this color here. It's going to indicate the note that's in a chord and a scale. It's in both. So for example, if I'm talking about any scale and I say that scale also has an A in it, it also has this here. It also has the 5th string open, right? 5th string open. 5th string, 3rd fret, right? That's there. That's the way this little chart works. But if I say it's 5th string open, then that means that I'm going to use this color here to show that it's both in the note and the scale. So that's this color. All right. So there we are there. So you don't know anything about the guitar. You don't know anything about flamenco. You don't know anything about theory. Let's teach you your first chord, right? So the first chord you're going to learn is the easiest chord that you're going to ever play on the guitar. I guarantee it's the easiest chord. And if you've been paying attention to what I've been saying, you probably already know. The chord is going to be all strings open. So don't do anything with your left hand. Just take your thumb, go from 6th string down to the 1st, pluck them all. There you'll have this chord that we're going to call E minor 11. Know what you're thinking? Man, that sounds like a complicated chord. Most books are going to start off, or most teachers, everybody starts off with your major triad, your minor triad, and that's helpful, right? Very helpful. I mean, I like that method too. But we want to approach this from a functional perspective, meaning we want to approach this from like function and practice. We want to approach it from things that you're going to actually use immediately. Right, the major you can use immediately too, minor you can use immediately too, but then I got to teach you how to do a minor chord, how to do a major chord. I gotta go into more depth. With this, we're going one chord open on the guitar, just as easy as anything. 6th string down to the 1st string. You play all these notes. It's going to be called an E minor 11. Now, I'll jump way ahead just for a moment for those that already know about chords and for those who don't, but just to clarify, it's E minor 11. You notice how this letter here is E? That's because we're calling E our root. If we called A our root, this would be a different chord because everything would be referenced from the A. If we called D our root, we'd call the chord a different name. So whatever we choose to be our root, if it has the same notes, because all these have the same notes, right? Same notes. But whichever one we choose to be our root will dictate the name of the chord. So for simplicity purposes, I'm just calling this an E minor 11 open, the 6th string. We have 2 E's. That's the most prominent sound in this chord. So it's going to be E minor 11. All right. So let me point out just a few things about this E minor 11. It is E is the root, right? M means minor. That means there's a flat third, which I'll get to in a moment. 11 means it's a dominant chord with an extension of 11, which I'll get to in a minute. Don't get discouraged. I'll get to that in a moment. So before we move to that, though, I want to explain. I was talking about root versus, right? I was talking about root. We choose a root. Now that word is key. When I was learning theory, I got a bit confused at times between root and key. I watched a whole bunch of videos and I understood the concept, right? And I also learned with the maestro. I understood the concept. A root is it's like home base. The key, it's like home base, right? Well, so what's the difference between the root and the key? The root, if I say root, I'm talking about chords. I mean, I'm talking about a chord, just one chord I'm talking about. So if I say, a chord is, notes 1, 2, and 3. It's these notes, right? Let's just say it's these notes. So if it's these notes, my root is A. That's the center point of my chord. It's the home base for my chord. If I say the key is E, when I say E right there, I'm talking about a chord. The key is E. And then I'm going to say, instead of saying note 1, 2, 3, I'm going to say chord 1, 2, 3. So the quick takeaway is that when you hear the word root, people are referring to a chord. When you hear the word key, people are referring to a group of chords. All right. It's still the focal point. Root is focal, key is focal, but it's just root is the notes of one chord. Key is group of chords. It's the main chord in a group of chords. All right. So there's so E minor 11. Let's get back to this part. E minor 11. So in order to understand E minor 11, you got to know how to spell a chord. That is paramount importance. How do we spell chords, right? So let me give you a first pass at how to spell chords. When we spell chords, that means that we are putting together the notes. We are writing the notes that comprise the chord. So E minor 11, let's say that's going to have an E, an A, a D, a G, a B, and an E. Boom, I just spelled the chord. That's E minor 11. There's more to it, but that's essentially spelling. When you can name all the chords and when you can name the distance between the chords. So let me start off with some foundation here for this part. So we have the notes here going vertical, right? So let's do the notes going horizontal as well. So this is open, right? No strings pressed on. Your left hand is not even touching the guitar. It's just everything open. So the first fret, sixth string, this is going to be F. This is going to be F sharp. It's going to be G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. All right, so these are the notes. I know you're saying, oh man, I'm confused already. This is the part I don't like. Why are you calling them sharps? What's going on here? So let me explain this part. We have sharps, but they could also be called their harmonic equivalents. They could also be called flat. This note could also be called G flat, right? Sharp means we go up one. So you see this is F. We go up one, or we go up a semitone. This is called, from here to here is a semitone. That means F sharp. If we go down, that is a flat. We go down a semitone, that's a flat. So here we have G flat. This could also be G flat. This could also be what? A flat. Yep. This could also be B flat. This could also be B flat. This could also be E flat. All right. And so you may be thinking, well, what about that B? Could that B be called C flat? It could be, yeah. Depending on how we're looking at it, depending on what we're talking about, a little bit more advanced music theory, we could call that C flat. But that's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is get you to understand the basics, right? So these notes are the same sound. They produce the same sound. The word for that is inharmonic. All right, it's inharmonic. All right, that's these. They're inharmonic. This is inharmonic. So that's to say F sharp and G flat are inharmonic. G sharp and A flat, inharmonic. All these guys, inharmonic. Because they produce the same sound. They sound exactly the same. It's just we name them different based on whatever lens that we're looking through at that time. Okay, so that's that. So now we have this chord again, back at this chord. So how do we spell the chord? Like I said, we need to name all the notes in the chord, right? And we also need to name the distance between everything, because the distance is what tells us whether it's minor, major, diminished, dominant, all that jargon. So how do we name the spaces between all this stuff? So let me help you out with this. Let's do this. So the spacing, remember I said root? We're going to call E our root. I'm looking here. This is equivalent to the sixth string right here. So this and this right now is going to be the same. All right. So root. Then we go here. We go to flat second, major second. We call this flat third. We call this major third. We call this the fourth. We call this the augmented fourth, which is indicated by the little plus sign. This guy here. These should all be centered. All right. Let's get a good color going on these. Let's get this color going. All right. Is that dark enough? Let's get a little bit darker. Let's do red. Yeah, there you go. All right. So root, flat second, major second, flat third, major third, fourth, augmented fourth. And then we get to the perfect fifth. Then we get to the flat sixth. We get to the major sixth, flat seven, major seven, back to root. So this is the code for naming the space between notes. All right, this is naming the spaces between notes. So you have all these notes. This is going in order. This is equivalent to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? All the way up to 12. So this is the space. So if I say, what's the major third of E? Major third of E is G sharp. If I say, what's the perfect fifth of E? E is my root, perfect fifth is here, so the note is B. One more, what's the flat 7 of E? Flat 7 is there, the note is D. Right, so that's how all of this ties out. That's how this works. So now that we have this understanding, let's spell our chord. Which notes are in the chord? We have it highlighted here vertically. Now let's do it horizontally because we have this nice rule, this nice structure here. So it has it has E, that's there. It also has an A. Where's our A? There's an A. It has a D. It has a G. Has a B. And then it has another high E. Right? So let's add those guys. So this, let me teach you something real quick. This E is the same note as this E. Right? These we don't call enharmonic. We call them, they're different because of octaves. So the difference, if you pluck this string, 6th string open, that's going to produce a sound, right? That sound is considered lower than this sound. If you take your index and put it on the 12th fret right here, and then pluck the 6th string, that's going to produce a sound. That sound is higher in pitch. Right, so I'm not going to get into the technical aspect of what pitch is, but for now, just know that this sound is high, this sound is low. Just like this sound, if you hit this string, this is 1st string open. This E is also high. This is low. These are octaves apart. From here to here is an octave. From here to here is an octave, right? Actually, I think this is more than one octave from here to here. But from here to here, for sure, is an octave. All right. So now we have our chord spelled out. So now what is in our chord? We have these notes. So now let's do it with the distance. Let me just highlight the distances between them. Because remember what I said. The distance between them is what dictates the name. Notes, that also dictates the name, but whenever someone does it by the notes, it's because they already know the distance, right? But the distance is really the main indicator. That's what determines it. So this is how we call it. So this is our distance. So another way to say that an E minor 11 chord means it has a root, flat 3rd, 4th, a perfect 5th, a flat 7, and a root again. So you might be saying, well, why is it minor? Why is there an 11? Let me take those one by one. It's minor, and if any chord is minor, if you ever see something that says minor, it's because it has this note. It has a flat 3rd. These are called intervals, really. The distance, they're called intervals. So this is a flat 3rd. So from here to here is a flat 3rd, right? From E to G is a flat 3rd. So this makes it minor. If it's a major 3rd, that makes it a major chord. If it's a flat 3rd, it's called a minor chord, and people also call this the minor 3rd. So there you are with that. 11. This is just a little bit more in depth, but the 11. Why is it called the 11, Ricky? You only have root through major 7. I don't see anything about 11. So let me drop some knowledge on you. This could also be 9. This could also be 11. And this could also be 13. Right? Let me change up these colors. Well, no, actually, it's the same color. It's good. So this could be 9, this could be 11, and this could be 13. And that's these. So the major 6 could also be the 13. The 4th could also be the 11th. And the major 2nd could also be the 9th. So how do you know when to use these guys? How do you know when to say 9 versus major second, or when to say 11 versus 4? So we know that based on this guy here. This is the flat 7. This is very important. This indicates whether or not a chord is dominant. If you hear somebody say, play an E dominant or an E major dominant, that means it's going to be an E chord with a flat 7 in it. All right, dominant. So one of the things about this flat 7 note is very important. People will refer to it as the 7, right? Not the 7th, but just the 7. It's the 7. If you want to refer to this note or this interval, you will refer to it as major 7th. You have to say major 7th. That's why you have this was actually when I was studying it, I was like, this was like an epiphany for me. I said, oh wow. That's why, have you ever saw something like this? E major, major 7. They're like, that's one chord. You'll hear people say that, right? Or you'll see this written and they'll call it E major, major 7. You're like, why do they say major twice? It's because they're telling you, they're spelling the chord. They're saying E major to let you know that it doesn't have that minor third. It has a major third. They're saying major again to let you know that it's a major 7. So that first major relates to the E, the first part of it. Then that major 7 is alone. That's why at first I wrote it like this. Oops. That's why at first I wrote it like this. E major and then space, major 7, right? So if you listen, they're saying these things because it's telling you that these are indicators. So anyway, this is the flat 7. It's or the 7, right? So if any chord has this 7 in it, that means it's a dominant chord. Once it has the 7, then we start to use these guys down here, right? And sometimes if it has the major third, we'll also start to use these guys. But for now, let's just say if it has the flat 7, we'll start to use these, right? So one more indicator. Let's say if it doesn't have the flat 7, right? This chord is E minor 11. Let me take this opportunity to show you something else. It's a flat 7. It has the D. So let's say the D is gone. Let's say we remove it from our chord. Let's say instead we play an E right here. This is the 4th string, 2nd fret, right? So 2nd fret. So now we don't have a D in our chord anymore. So then our chord is no longer E minor 11. It is E minor add 11. All right, E minor add 11. So what does that tell you? That means if you see a chord that has the word add written into it, that means that it does not have the flat 7 interval. All right, if you see something like E minor add 9, E minor add 13, that means it does not have this flat 7. But if you see E minor 11 or E minor 9 or E minor 13, that means that this flat 7 is there. It is implied, right? It's implicit. That's to say that we don't say E minor 7-11 or E minor 7-9, E minor 7-13. You don't say that. You say E minor 9, and that implies that the flat 7 is there already. So you have to know that. All right, if it says E minor add 9, 11, or 13, that means the flat 7 is not there. All right, so back to where we were. Cool. So this is our chord, our E minor 11. It has a root, it has a flat third, it has a 4, or in this case, what we're going to call an 11, because there's a flat 7. It has the perfect fifth, it has our beautiful flat 7, and it has a root again. So this is the chord. That's it. So key takeaways from this, what are they? We spell a chord by naming the spaces or the intervals in between the notes that are in the chord. In our example, we have all these notes in our chord, right? Because it's just the 6th string down. Just don't even do anything with your left hand. Just pluck everything down. Just hit every string from 6th to 1st. These are all these notes. All these notes, we've shown it horizontally this way. And then we have this line here to tell you the difference between all these notes. I'm sorry, the interval or the space between the notes. And then we looked at the space to name the chord. So I told you straight away that this was E in E minor 11, but I could have waited until the end to do that. I could have just spelled it out and then said, okay, what's the root? The root is E. It has a flat third. Okay, so it's an E minor chord. It has a perfect fifth. Okay, it's an E minor. It's an E minor triad. 1, 2, 3. Tri meaning 3. E minor triad meaning it has these 3 basic notes, right? It means it has the root, the flat third, and the perfect fifth. And then it has a flat 7. Okay, so it's a dominant chord. So it's an E minor 7. No, it has an 11 as well. It has this A. So it's E minor 11. Right? That would be my mindset if I didn't know what chord this was. If you came at me and said, hey, Ricky, if I have these notes and E is my root, what's this chord? And I'd do this in my head and I'd say, or I'd work it out on the guitar or on a piece of paper. However, I'd work it out and I'd say, oh, that's an E minor 11. Right? One more thing I want to show you before we take off is the E and the F here are close together. The B and the C are close together. I think I said this earlier. They are a semitone apart. A semitone on our guitar is just from one fret to the other. So if you hit the 6th string open and then hit the 6th string 1st fret, so you put your index finger here and you hit that, these two are called a semitone apart. These two semitone apart. But if I go from here to here, that's a tone apart, right? Semi just means half. So 2 semitones make a tone. So from here to here is a tone. All right, so that's clutch. And the reason what I really want to show you is EF and BC. There's nothing in between those. We don't have like an E sharp or F sharp. That's because they're the only ones that are right next to each other. They are the only notes that are semitone apart. So that's not to say though that in some advanced theory that you couldn't call this C flat. You could, again, depending on the lens that we're looking at it through, and that would be in harmonic with B. Just like sometimes you can call this B sharp, right? Now I'll tell you right now, in flamenco we don't go to that extent, right? We're not that formal. We don't make that distinction. I've learned it just because I'm a nerd and I want to learn it. I want to know. But we don't have to go there for flamenco. We stick to sharps and we stick to flats. One other thing. Let's say we have on our lens, right? And we're looking at it like this. We're calling these sharps. What you don't want to do is say, and what we never do is, if we're going to start calling things with sharps, we're going to stick to using sharps. So I wouldn't say this is F sharp and then call this A flat and then call this D flat or something and then call that D sharp. Like I wouldn't do that. Right? We don't do that. You don't mix it up. You stay, you choose one and then you stick to that and you go in that direction. And then one more piece. I'm calling these guys E, F. All right, these are the main chords. These are the real chord, then the real chords, but these are the main chords, the ones that are highlighted right now. This guy, this guy, this guy. I'm using them to back away, to back into these other notes. And this last point is that you notice none of these are the same letter. Like I wouldn't call this F sharp E something. Like I wouldn't say E sharp sharp or E double sharp. Like I wouldn't say that. They have different letters. Everything highlighted right now. Let me put a quick color to it. All these have different letters, right? So then if you notice, this is called, for example, flat 6, right? So that means I'm taking this 6, this major 6, and I'm flattening it. I'm pulling it down. So that's a flat 6. I'm taking this B and I'm pulling it. Oh, I'm not pulling it down, right? Nothing. That's why B's only said once, because this is an augmented 4. So that means I'm taking my 4, sharpening it. That's why it has the same letter. Right here, my flat third. So I'm taking my major third, which is this note, and I'm flattening it. So I'm going to use the same letter. So we'll have for sure more videos speaking to that. That's important. But again, main takeaways from this is I want you to understand your first chord, your E minor 11. I want you to get the intervals between notes. I want you to understand what the notes are on even just the 6th string. Later on, we're going to talk about something that's very helpful to me. That was very helpful to me in like stepping up my chord game. And I still use it. I use it and I'm still learning it. And I'm learning it. I understand it. I'm still getting better at it. It's doing this thing that we did here. We did this horizontally, right? If we did it vertically, oh man, you can use it even more, right? Because we see chords vertically. We don't see them horizontally, really. It's always a vertical thing. So once you know how to name it vertically, then it's like, oh my word, it just big light bulb comes on, and then you can do any chord, right? If I say, you know, what's this chord? You know, if I come like let's say I do something like this, you know, like what's that chord? Well, with just this video alone, I haven't taught you how to name this chord because we're only going horizontal. We're not going vertical. In another video, we're going to show you how to go vertical. Once you go vertical, then you'll be able to say, oh, if this is the root, then, you know, boom, this is the perfect 5th. And what is this, the flat 9? Oh, you know, well, blah, blah, blah. Again, I don't want to dive into it, but that's very useful as well. So hope you liked the video. I hope, actually, it's okay if you didn't like it. I really hope that you learned from it. The goal here is that you're learning. Hopefully this video was able to take you from not knowing anything about guitar theory to now knowing how to spell chords, knowing how to spell at least one chord, knowing how to name the spaces between the notes, right? And now sticking with that. So that's what I hope this video has done for you. If you like it, like below. If you have any thoughts or suggestions or comments in general, comment below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell icon there so you get a good pop-up whenever we release more videos like this. This was Flamenco Guitar Theory 101, your first chord. Tons of videos to come to help you to ramp up to learn flamenco guitar theory. All right. See you next time.